Welcome, my darling pretties, to our Beyond the Dawn of Business podcast for pretty, empowered female entrepreneurs. It's time to step into your power, pretties. Lift each other, support the squad, and choose a life filled with the autonomy and freedom to live your dreams. I'm your host, Dawn Beth, owner and founder of Beyond the Dawn digital business brand and agency. My coffee is hot and my eyelashes are on, so we are ready to go. Hello and welcome to today's episode. Today I want to talk to you about quitting. That's right, I want to talk to you about being a big quitter, when to know it's the right time to quit, and why it's so important for us in business to embrace quitting as a very balanced thing, sometimes a positive thing. It doesn't always have to be negative. So first and foremost, I want to kind of give you an understanding of why this is so poignant in conversation with me and my clients and my team at the moment, actually, because we have trends of things that we discuss. There are elements of theory and practice that come round for us time and time again that, you know, at the end of the day, we could talk to you about till the cows come home. We could give you understandings of these different elements over and over and over again in different perspectives for your business, for your life, in many different multitudes of ways. But this one has been really poignant because as a service provider, agency, as a consultant and a coach, what we're seeing quite a lot is that we're giving very similar advice to our clients over and over and over again at this stage in business. So this isn't just kind of like a general conversation. This is almost like a relative trend that I want you guys to consider. I want you to maybe embrace it, give yourself a little bit of grace, give me a bit of grace as well, and allow yourself the opportunity to kind of really consider this as a new concept in your life. So when we look at the bird's eye view of our businesses, it can be quite easy for us to recognize that there are lots and lots of different things that we need to do. That to-do list is never done. We're constantly on that treadmill, aren't we? We're on that hamster wheel, trying to make sure that we're getting to a stage where we're actually ticking things off our list, making progress. That old adage, we're moving the needle. And those things are inherently just super important to us, and they're where we lie our focus. They're where we kind of lay down a lot of our energetic spend in the doing, the to-doing, the list of things that never ends, that's never truly done. But sometimes it can be really good to look back. It can be really good to reflect. And often when we reflect, reflect from a point of view of let's see what works. Now, from positive psychology and the way that I support all of you guys, whether it's with the free resources, the podcast, or whether you've worked with me or you're in any of my free groups or any of those types of things, you'll know that I'll always be telling you, I'm always going to be that hype girl that's letting you know that it's a really good idea for you to triple down on your strengths. So when you're reviewing things, it can be quite easy to slip into the practice of reviewing what worked so that we can do more of what worked. As I work with more and more people who would consider themselves to be, you know, by their own definition, successful, the more I recognize a practice in recognizing what isn't working, in recognizing single point failures, in recognizing anything that's gone wrong, failure reporting, and ultimately, punchline in, quitting. Okay. What are the things that we need to quit? And what might be a better question, at which point are we recognizing that we need to quit them? Because it's all well and good if something isn't working at all and it's completely devoid of any point to stop doing that thing. That's super easy. It's a self-explanatory practice. But what if something was working really, really well and it hasn't worked particularly well this time? That's kind of easy. Okay, so it worked last time, it's not working. It needs either dumping or adapting, right? Quite easy, logical, complete logic. But what happens if it is working, but it's working in a different way? So I'm going to give you an example. There has been a massive trend on the digital sphere online in terms of being able to create products, in terms of being able to launch products, in terms of being able to deliver products in a certain way. And actually, the delivery of 90% of the industry is based on data of what was working in 2019 and 2020 and hasn't quite fully changed or adapted. What's happening is the common consensus, a lot of general advice out there is to be selling harder, to be selling more forcefully, to be finding new ways to get bigger numbers. Now, anybody who's ever worked in sales, and if you're a small business owner, even if you never wanted to be in sales, congratulations. That's the role that you never asked for, but you got landed in your lap anyway. At the end of the day, there is a nuance, there is a skill to selling and selling well. Most people, under the right circumstances, can sell something once, okay? It's actually not difficult to make a sale. As consumers, as buyers, we are already kind of geared up to spend money, to buy things, to want things. We've been brought up in a consumerism society. It's almost cellular level to want more things, to do things. We earn money to spend the money. It's very rare that we earn the money to sit on the money and do nothing with it, because a lot of us have got that mindset of, well, you can't take it with you. You have to experience what you can experience in the short time that we're here. This life is a gift. It's rare. We never know when it's going to end. And those are the kinds of concepts that kind of live just underneath skin level, that drive us to do these things, to make those impulsive choices, to buy the new top, the new shoes, or the new course. And those are the things that kind of drive us forward. And that's fine. If you've got something and you just want to sell it once, you want a quick, sharp hit of cash, and you don't expect to have a long-lasting relationship with your audience or your clients, then that's fine. You can literally, what we call shark sell, that one item on one hit, go for it, enjoy it, do what you need to do with it, fine. But you can't expect to come at that same energy and have audiences or clients that are willing to repeatedly buy over a long period of time. Now, you get to choose what life cycle sounds right for you. There's industry standards, there's obviously life cycles that we're all hoping to achieve. Lots and lots and lots of data suggest that you may only get somewhere between 2 and 5 years out of a client in the online digital space, especially in the industries that we're kind of the most involved in. But that doesn't mean, you think about the industry, we've actually not had that much time to be able to collate accurate data over a long period of time. We haven't got 30 years worth of data to be able to say whether there is an opportunity for a longer standing legacy client. Okay, so somebody at some point is going to be the person, and sometimes I think it could be us, it could be my company, it could be me, but somebody somewhere along the line is going to be turning around and saying, well, yeah, this person, client A, was buying from us in 2020 and she's still buying from us in 2030 because we have changed the way that we show up, that we've found ways to adapt, we've found ways to deliver in the way that still suits this client, that still supports this client, different need as they grow, but still they're supporting. Now, the reason why this is so important is because one of the things that the online space has done really well, and has also got kind of a shadow side within, is this I teach you so that you can teach them so that they can teach them initiative. The whole let's look back and lift up the next person behind us is a beautiful energy, and we should all strive to do that. but the kind of almost multi-level marketeering structure that can sometimes it's completely intentional, sometimes it's completely accidental, but there's still a vein of it, very, 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 very kind of common vein of it throughout a lot of online digital sales practices. At what point, if it's still working and money is still going into your business bank account, do you recognize that actually that might be damaging what you're doing in the next 3 years? Or it might be money in your bank account today, but it might be damaging your opportunities and your reputation in the next 5 years. At what point do you look at those practices and recognize that actually they are starting to shift in terms of how they are received by your ideal client and the other consumers that are on the spectrum of your ideal client? Are you even looking at that? Have you even given yourself a minute to consider what it feels like to be on the other side of your experience? Okay, because one thing that I've always enjoyed about my role is that I've been able to build it and create it and shift it and change it at will. And I always think about the absolute privilege that I've had in building the company in the way that I have built it, which is literally brick by brick. Lots of people have said to me, like, that must have been really grueling. It must have been very difficult. You must have been so tired. All of those things are true, but they're kind of true in a beautiful way. Like, that brick by brick process allowed me to fully evaluate what was being built at every stage. I had eyes on everything. At no point did I have a big injection of cash from a shareholder. I never had somebody else's ideas or thoughts that I had to consider. I could be extremely selfish with the direction of the company based on what I felt was right. And a lot of my company is built on feeling. It's built on intuition. It's built on what I would call a ton of soft skills. The kind of skills that a lot of companies, a lot of employers don't actually necessarily seek as being super valuable. But I personally think, again, it's come back down to my opinion, it absolutely valuable, sometimes more valuable than teachable skill. I'm able to have conversations with my clients that give me insights into their experience on the other side of our situation that I don't believe is accessible for other companies. That in itself, that one thing, is an absolute gift. And one of the reasons why I love thinking about this, one of the reasons why I have to throw back a little bit of gratitude to previous employment that I've had for this, because at a place where I used to work, I assume he was CEO at the time. He's the founder of the company, in terms of like he owns the entire company. This particular person used to go around the country. He had hundreds and hundreds of employees, and he'd go around the country and he would invite his employees into focus groups and he would ask honest questions about how they were feeling. And it was a situation whereby in that room, anything could be spoken of. It was a safe space. And I remember attending one of these focus groups. And this man, even to this day, I find this man incredibly impressive. And I have a ton of love and respect for him. And I found it quite difficult when the conversation took any turn towards what might be considered a negative opinion. But others in the room felt completely comfortable. People who had been in the company longer than I had felt completely and utterly safe and comfortable explaining to this extremely powerful and really lovely man the problems that they felt were present in the company, the things that they felt needed to be addressed, the things that they thought were really important that he needed to know about, that he needed to make changes for, and I look around the room that day and noticed faces that are filled with admiration and respect and honest communication without fear. And I remember thinking that is a real show of what a leader truly is that no conversation is off the table. No conversation should ever be kind of like, hidden. You don't want to have people around you that are too scared to say the truth, to say the thing. You want people to say the thing, and you want them to feel safe in saying the thing. You never want to be surrounded by yes men. And I think that in itself allows, when you embrace that yourself, that allows you to take away, first of all, you're taking away quite a lot of ego. And if you could surgically remove as much of your ego from your business as is humanly possible, I would lovingly suggest that you do. Because every single person who leads with a level of humility, who is part of their own team and is there to support their team, and not the person who sits on the top of the pyramid reaping all the benefits whilst everybody else is not. They're the people who have really got it sussed. They're the people that when I go out for dinner with clients and I chat to people, they're the ones that just blow my mind in the way that they are working and structuring their companies and structuring what they're going to do in the next 5 to 10 years. And those are the people that are truly... they give me absolutely no indication that they're not going to be powerful players for a long, long time to come. And this is what I would love for you to consider when you're looking at your business and you're looking at the things that you need to quit. You might look around at lots of other people and go, well, they're still doing it. It's still working for them. They're still doing that thing, or somebody else is doing that. I'll give that a try. Inspiration is never completely owned by ourselves. We are creatures of the things that we've consumed. It's like, I love English breakfast tea because I used to drink that with my sister Gillian when we went to France on a holiday when I think I was about 10 or 11. I had a broken leg, and I sat down and put sugar lumps in my breakfast English tea on that holiday, and like that has shaped me. There's music influences in my soul that come from artists that I don't listen to, that were completely consumed, loved and adored and passed down by my dad. Music influences, a lot of my music influences as a teenager were shifted and molded and changed by my sister Susan as well, because she has a very eclectic, rather rad collection of just the most wonderful but sometimes obscure kind of indie rock type of music, and that made a massive shift in me. I remember learning about different poets and loving about contemporary art in the way that poetry is performed, through having a conversation with my friend Kate, who was actually my best friend in primary school, and we reconnected as late teenagers. And I just remember us getting drunk on cheap cocktails at the bar that she worked behind the bar of, and having this great conversation about contemporary performance within poetry. And we are shaped by the people around us. Even going through an incredibly hard and difficult and painful transition in my personal romantic relationship, and that dying a death over the last few years, even that, I can look at that entire decade that I had with my husband and see how those experiences, good and bad, have completely shaped and changed who I am as a person. So we can't look around at inspiration and be like, okay, this is just mine. I came up with this idea. Nobody in the world has ever thought of this. You should not copy me because it's mine. And don't get me wrong, pieces of work, do we copyright them? Yes. Do we trademark things? Yes, because there are certain things that require an official documentation of ownership. But ideas, thoughts, feelings, the way in which we present ourselves to audiences, those types of things, maybe not.
You love listening to podcasts, but have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? Maybe you want to build a brand, grow your business, or are looking for an excuse to talk about your favorite hobby. Whatever your reason for making a podcast, Buzzsprout is the place to start. Since 2009, Buzzsprout has helped over 300,000 people launch their own podcasts. Buzzsprout walks you step by step through the whole process and will give you powerful tools to start, grow, and monetize your podcast. Ready to get started? Click the link in the show notes to get our free step-by-step guide to starting your podcast today.
Maybe not. You know yourself that you've consumed things. You know yourself that you've picked things up from other sources. You know how that works. And it just gives a difference in the way that those things go out. So quit. When something doesn't fit you, don't be so easy and quick to consume everything and take it on. And even if you've been doing it, you've been watching somebody else and you've been thinking, okay, I need to do it this way because this is the way that it works for them. Think about whether it really does work for how you want your company to be, how you want your business to run. Maybe quit a little bit sooner than it failing. Maybe don't wait for the horrendous launch to stop doing things that way. Maybe don't wait for the horrendous piece of feedback to stop doing something that way. I think understanding and believing in yourself that even if you take something away that feels like it's very secure, you will be okay and you will find a different way. You will find a path to what you're trying to achieve, just in a different way. Then quitting becomes so much easier because you're not scared. There is a fear with taking something away. If you think that you've got an A, B, C block pathway and you need A and you need B and you need C and that's the only way you know how to do it, then there needs to be a shift in what you're working on. And this is not your company. This is not your business. This is you. This is you, the person. There needs to be a shift for you in your capabilities, in you being able to do what you need to do to be able to handle any situation, and that belief in yourself that you can, that belief in yourself that you will, that there's nothing to stop you. There's no shame in quitting stuff, okay? You get to choose, you get to make the decision. Somebody said to me the other day, we were talking about business and life, and we were talking about the way in which emails were sent, email marketing. Now, email marketing is incredibly powerful. I'm not suggesting that you quit email marketing, okay? Don't quit that one, just keep that one going. But we were discussing how there's been kind of an increase in the volume of emails going out. We know that email marketing is incredibly important. We know that it can be really, really helpful for businesses. And we know that on the flip side, a lot of audiences really enjoy good, high value email touch points. Like, we know that this is still a thing. And she said to me, she said, Dawn, how do you feel about the 3 or 4 emails a day technique on launching? Like, would you ever consider doing that? And I went back and said, you know what, I've done it. And I don't worry too much about the volume of the email anymore. I don't worry too much about the date that the email goes out on anymore. I have quit trying to preempt every single move that my audience will make on the flip side of the resources that I provide. Instead, what I'm doing is I'm making sure that every corner is covered. I'm making sure that I've definitely sent out enough information regularly enough. I've retargeted people who may not have opened the original email. I'm making sure that all my bases are covered. But rather than panicking about whether this went out on a Wednesday at 3 p.m. or whether this goes out on Friday at 4, I've just made sure that the information is there and that people can have it when it suits them. It's at their fingertips, it's easy, and it's available. I've quit panicking. Now, that's not to say that there's no nuances in the details. Maybe you have a solid data strategy for your company or your business where you know yourself that if you send an email at 10 a.m. on a Monday morning, you're going to get a 2% higher open rate. And that's fabulous for you. If you're aware of that and that's genuine information you've collected from your audience, then I'm not suggesting that you ignore that. But out there in the world, you've got every Tom, Dick and Harry telling you, oh, you need to send your emails on a Thursday. Oh, you must not ever do a big webinar on a Wednesday. Oh, whatever you do, don't turn up and wear green shorts on a Saturday. And really, truthfully, only you can make those decisions. And I've actively quit trying to take every single online guru's advice over these types of bits of information. My company has been built brick by brick. There is no other agency that I've ever come into contact with, and we're in contact with so many now. It's a beautiful thing, but none of them are like us. None of them are the same as we are. We've built ourselves in nobody else's image because, and this is a happy accident, but that's because when I built this, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have anybody saying to me, Dawny, you need to do it this way. You need to make sure that this and this is there. I just built it as what felt right for me, what felt right for my team as I started to take team on, what felt right because of the influences and luckily very positive influences of previous employment that I've held and jobs that I've held in the past, and their good example. That's how this place has been built, almost in that kind of crazy remix of all of those different methodologies, which is why I always describe this agency as a pick and mix sweet shop for entrepreneurs, because we are not like any other. And you should be the same. You should be the same. Allow yourself the freedom to be truly authentic to what you want to do within your company, within your business and your life, and allow yourself to build that up. I would lovingly suggest that you quit sooner. Don't let things fall on their backside before you decide to cut them out. Keep a temperature check going, and if it feels bad to you, cut it. If going to those types of events aren't working for you, cut it. If trying to cram touring around the country into 3 weeks when you know that you're not going to get any sleep and the return on investment is going to be very low, but you're trying to hustle because you think that there might be an opportunity on the other side of that in terms of seeding more visibility, which is something that we all at some point have a decision over. Quit it. There are more than one way. There's more than one way to get to where you want to go. Okay? The cookie cutter response needs to be quit. You can still raise your visibility without burning out and sacrificing sleep. You can still find other ways to do whatever the benefit of the thing it was you were going to do is in a way that suits you better. Triple down on strengths, absolutely, but cut out the things that are making you weak. And this is a fun exercise, and I lovingly suggest that you do this over the next week or two. I'd love for you to make a kryptonite list. So if you think of Superman's super strong, he can fly, he is able to lift ridiculous things, he has lasers, he's like a great superhero with lots of additional skills that come in handy for being a superhero, right? But if you put some kryptonite next to him, he goes weak and it completely deflates him and it stops him from being super. He's not super at all when he's got kryptonite next to him. He's just a blob. Whether you realize it or not, your lifestyle is full of mini kryptonite. It might be the exchanges with people who you don't actually like that are draining your energy. It might be consuming too much online negative information or watching playground tactics play out between grown adults on Facebook. It might be your eating habits, your sleeping habits, the way that you speak to yourself with your internal brain voice, your inner critic. You know, all of these different things. We all probably have a collective of very similar ones, but then there'll be others that are just for you. Like, choosing opportunities to be joyful, choosing opportunities to be rested, choosing opportunities to be peaceful, choosing opportunities to switch off so that you don't consume the things that actually drain you and make you feel worse. Make yourself a little kryptonite list. All the things that tick you off. It could be traffic. It could be absolutely anything. It could be the food shop. It could be the way your kid's bedroom is looking right now. I don't know. I have lots of really strange triggers because of my ADHD. I get a lot of environmental triggers, but they're all my mini kryptonites. And I'd love for you to make that list. And at this point, all you need to do is make it and be aware of it, so that when you're sat in traffic next time and you're late and you start to feel yourself getting triggered, you're aware of it. That self-awareness that this is a kryptonite moment, and have a solution at bay ready to kind of overcome it. And that's the second stage, is making sure those solutions are in there. Can I do that speaking event? Go and do somebody's podcast, write 6 emails, figure out the launch, support a client on that in-person day and do a content shoot the day after? No. I have to quit something. Something has to give. So where am I going to split that out to make sure that the kryptonite things like getting less sleep, or not being hydrated enough, or not being able to laugh with my friends at any point during that time, like what are the things that are actually going to drain me? And we remove them and we shift them and we change them to make sure that there is more balance. It's really funny because the deeper I get into personal growth and feeling, especially when it comes to people who are changing the world from their little corners of the world, they're changing things for the better, and they're doing it like recruiting onto a pirate ship one by one by one. It comes back to the most simplest things over and over again. So think about that, make yourself a kryptonite list and look at the things that you actively want to quit. And most important, quit feeling bad about quitting.
If you're loving our Pretty podcast, come on over to Social Pretties, our online safe house and sisterhood community. It's a safe space where female entrepreneurs connect and thrive in a warm, welcoming fold of pretty amazing women. You'll find an easy redirect in the description, and I can't wait to see you in there. And depending on where you're listening right now, we would love it if you would click subscribe or follow so that you can be the first to know when our new podcasts come out.